what's up, Canada and beyond? We've got stuff happening in places, all kinds of different places. Things are happening, bells are clanging. Wow. Welcome back, What's Up, Canada and beyond, to what is going to be a discussion that I've been waiting for quite some time to be able to bring you guys. We get an opportunity to talk to somebody that is plugged in right at the top of the source of the NCI, which, if you've been living under a rock, is the National Citizens Inquiry that has been looking into the government's response to the COVID measures. Just a minute of maintenance and housekeeping before we dive into that, so I don't forget, because you know I'm going to get so excited talking to our guest, Michelle Leduc, Catlin, who is she's going to rock your socks, and she's got some special breaking news that she only just found out just literally 30 seconds before showtime. So we're looking forward to that. But guys, we are doing different things differently now. We have got some people that are working with us. Collectively, we are working on our second $100,000 a year that we are taking away from the cabal. If you're curious and learning more about that, click on the Patriot Switch link below. And if you are concerned about the bank bail-ins and protecting your hard-earned life savings and futures for your families, you might want to talk to the Precious Metals guys, and you'll find the link there below as well. Now, without further ado, the lady we've been waiting to hear from, Michelle. Thank you. We've been playing ping pong with this for a little while. So glad to finally have you here. Welcome to What's Up Canada community. Everybody out there, if you're here watching, if you're new, welcome. But everybody, please hit like, share, and subscribe. We have never needed your help more to get the truth and information that people like Michelle have to give to the world. We need your help. Help us out. Give them something to fire away with. Michelle, welcome.
Thank you so much. And thank you for everything you're doing. You know, if it wasn't for people like you, nobody would know what the hell's going on.
I hate to say it, but and I didn't dream of doing this. This came to me out of necessity, that I thought even a rock could do better than what we were getting. So I decided to see what would happen if I did. So I just started talking to camera and talking to people and putting the two together. And 4 years later, I don't think legacy media has a leg to stand on. Just coming light today, to me anyways, Trudeau is giving them double a pay raise starting next year, because they just can't compete with the level of truth that we collectively
they've been good servants. They should be paid.
Right? Yeah. They're not getting it from us anymore. So I guess that's the nature of the environment we live in. So for people that may have been living under a rock for the last year specifically, Michelle, tell us a little bit about who you are, where you come from, and how you get to be this amazing person we all get to know with the NCI.
Oh, well, first of all, thank you. How did I get to? Well, let's see. It started back in so let's see. Where do I start? I've been with the NCI since about February, since before we started the hearings. And before that, in the before times, I was in lifestyle television. I was a director producer in lifestyle television. Then I was a reporter producer, and then I hosted a ballroom dance show, which of course has nothing to do with anything currently happening. And then I transitioned to acting, and I was an actor for several years and producing some short films, that kind of thing. And then I got really sick. And so it's really hard to find stuff on me from my career, because I had 13 years of chronic fatigue. And the last 7 of them, I didn't work. And so, this is in the before internet times. And during that time, I did a lot of health research. And thank God, because it was because of that health research that I very early on learned the truth about what was happening with COVID. The rest I came to learn along the way, but that was the impetus for me doing health research and finding out what was going on. So also during that time, I started journaling and ended up, because I was journaling as part of my healing, leading an online guided journaling club, starting a website, and then completely shutting it down when all of this started and just writing about COVID all the time. But the amazing thing is that during that time when I was ill and I had no career and no social life and virtually nothing in my life, all I did was read and write, and I found my voice. So this was really key when COVID came around because I really felt the need to use it. And I started my blog. I went to the trucker convoy and I wrote about that. And I ended up on a call a year later, and Sean Buckley, the lead counsel for the National Citizens Inquiry, was looking for reporters, just to have a reporter in each city. And so I volunteered. And 3 days later, he asked me if I would consider being the spokesperson. And that's, like, yes, I would consider that. So the rest is kind of history. So that's how I got here. And then, of course, we traveled across the country, listening to the testimony of over 300 witnesses in 8 different cities, 24 hearing days, 200 plus hours. And I can say with certainty that there's not one of us who heard all that testimony whose lives weren't changed forever.
When I first started hearing about this idea cropping up with the NCI and what their intent was, and I was invited to take part, and initially I was like, yeah, I would do what I could, and I, like, within days I realized this was going to actually have feet. It was actually going to have traction, because I mean at that point I'd been covering the resistance from across the country to all of the COVID measures. I had seen a lot of ideas come and go that you kind of get a feel for where you need to spend your energy a little bit, and you're not always right, but it's part of due diligence when you're a small outlet, and I realized really quickly that this was going to be huge, it was going to be big, and it was going to take such a massive commitment that I wouldn't be able to do it justice. So I kind of said, when you guys get to the news stuff, that's where I can help you out a little bit further down the road. I just couldn't really do it right now. So I'm so grateful that there were some people like you that were able to step in and to do such justice to what needed to get done to this task. And that was one of the things that I've been so impressed by, was the level of professionalism and expertise from start to finish. There is not a stone that it was left uncovered that you guys didn't address in the most humane, empathetic, understanding desire for nothing but the truth, and giving people's voices an opportunity to be on the record and heard. So I've been very impressed by that. Most of the community that's here is probably familiar with your guys' work. Throughout this, did you see, when you first started out on this, taking on the job as the spokesperson, could you have imagined what's gone on since then? What were you thinking at the beginning?
I was thinking, oh my God, how am I going to fill Trish Wood's shoes? Because she was originally supposed to be the spokesperson. Well, actually, Preston Manning was supposed to be the spokesperson, but then he took on another role. He stayed with the NCI, but Trish Wood became the spokesperson, and then she got overwhelmed with a film project she was working on. And for about 30 seconds, I kind of thought, what? Trish Wood is this award-winning investigative journalist. But I quickly thought, no, that's not what I'm bringing to the table. And for me, there's something you said that really resonated with me, which was, there was a phrase you used, but For me, it was like, where do you put your energy? You know, you're talking about where you put your energy. And for me, the whole idea of starting with very objective questions, right? Like, what did we do right? What did we do wrong? What could we do better? Right? And as you said, giving a platform for people to tell the truth and being genuinely open to what that is, that for me was like an olive branch. I felt that at the time, you know, a year ago, we were still a lot more divided, right? There was divide between the vaxxed and the unvaxxed, people who were pro mandate, people who were anti mandate. And for me, this was the first time I could have a conversation with my mother, as one example, and say, yeah, there's a national citizens inquiry. And she asked, what are you, what's that? What are you doing? I said, well, there was a survey done that 3 out of 4 Canadians felt that the mandates did them harm. And so we're looking into what happened. And that for me was like, there was no pushback to that. How can you push back on that? You know? So
Right.
I loved that idea. And that's one of the reasons why I chose to put everything into it. And it was an all or nothing kind of thing.
Well, there's that's immediately what my feeling was when I started to see how this was starting to evolve. And how long did it take before? I mean, this from the time that you guys the planning first started till it actually started hitting the ground was a really short period of time.
Ah,
How did you guys manage to facilitate and get this to a point where it was something that was you knew was going to come to completion, that you guys knew that this was you guys, because there was a lot of resistance and opposition from both sides of the fence when this first started. So maybe take us a little bit through the early dynamics of that, getting this going until it had to have felt pretty amazing when that first hearing was over in the East, going, okay, we got
certainly
this.
did. It certainly did. The first day, you know, I was up with the AV crew till 2 a.m. because we didn't know what we were going to do. And for me, well, let me go back a little bit. One of the first things before the hearings, there was the mm, I'm not good. The skepticism, let's call it, right? There
Mhm.
was skepticism, you know, well, what can you do? You know, this is made up, you have no teeth. And so my response right from the beginning, people would say, well, what are you going to do with the commissioner's report? And I would say, and I still say, what are you going to do with it? This is the National Citizens Inquiry. This is unprecedented. There is no structure, there is no institution, there is no really organization. This is a bunch of volunteers that have grown across the country. People have taken on their own initiatives. So it really is up to each of us to decide what it is we're going to do with the report. So I'll get to that later. But that was always my response, because we're so used to, and this is, I think, part of the transition and maybe the opportunity that's happening in this time, is that we're so used to somebody or something, some organization handling things. And this is a time for us to stand up and take personal responsibility. And that's not a burden. That's a thing for me that's been a key message. That's not a burden. That is an opportunity. That's where we feel empowered. You know, that's where we find our agency, is when we take ownership of something. So that's the first thing. We got to Nova Scotia, and I mean, it was the blind leading the blind, you know, like we didn't know how this was going to go, what we were going to do, other than there was a team of, you know, volunteer lawyers who had, and there was a team, local teams. That's the other thing, is that the NCI was put together by local teams in each city, right? So
Right.
each city vetted their witnesses, you know, because we had hundreds and hundreds of applications for witnesses. And so all we knew was that we had to get all of us to Nova Scotia. and pay for that first hearing. And quite honestly, we had no idea how we were going to pay for the rest. It was a hope and a prayer each city. It was a hope and a prayer that we would get enough money to go to the next one. So I had about 2 months, 3 months before I was asked to do this, I had made a decision near the end of last year. And I thought, I've been putting my writing skills to use in this fight, whatever you want to call it, in this movement. But it's time to raise the bar. We all need to raise the bar. We all need to put in whatever we have. And I thought, okay, I have production skills, I have on camera experience. I'm open to that. I didn't know what that was going to look like, but I was open. I also, if I may tell a short story that's, I think,
Absolutely.
quite amusing. There's a cafe in Montreal, and it's a freedom cafe. It's a tiny little Portuguese restaurant, but they have freedom. They have convoy flags, and there's a wall where freedom fighters sign, and they have a psychic every Wednesday night. And you go in, and she does these mini readings. And someone took me to this cafe, and she said to me, now this is last November, okay? Barely had heard of the NCI, certainly wasn't a part of it. And she said to me, you are a spiritual warrior, and you are going to become a face of the freedom movement. And she said, I see you at a kind of conference, and there's speakers. You're not the speaker, but it's like you're introducing the speakers. This is December, January, 3 months before I had any connection. So I had made this decision, okay, whatever's next, I'm ready to put all my skills on the table. So when we got to Truro, Nova Scotia for the first set of hearings, we started to figure out how to do things. And what I ended up doing is, because the first night, as I said, I was up till 2 a.m. and we were scripting stuff. And I said, okay, this is not going to work. But if I can sit down and talk to the camera, like talk to people, right? And share my experience of the day, do a summary of the day, just like a human being to human being, rather than a news report, I could do this every day. So that's what we started doing. We called them sit down summaries. And then what I would do on the breaks is I would interview witnesses. And in the witness, because the breaks were 10 minutes. So it was really, I want that one. I grabbed the witness and I would, follow up, and it mostly, what do you want Canadians to know? And then I would turn to the camera and I would beg for money. If you want to hear more testimony like this, if you want to hear stories like this, if you want evidence like this, please go to National Citizens Inquiry. And, that was kind of a start.
That's time after a person has done giving a testimony or giving an interview, and I see that happen all the time with doing this, like I do. After the minute the show stops or the cameras stop, there's, I wanted to talk about this, or I wanted to say that.
Yeah.
That would have, that is such a, an amazing alignment of things for you to be able to have that opportunity and be able to capture that with those people in that, unscripted, genuine, natural selves, and that is I think one of the trademark or the hallmark of what transpired with the entire NCI hearings. Is everything was exactly that: genuine, real, open. Anybody was welcome to attend, listen to the testimonies, and there, by the hundreds across the country. By the time you got across the country, let me back up there a little bit. One of the things that when you address some of the people that were pessimistic or not necessarily supportive, I I have to be honest, and that was one of the reasons why I wasn't committed to taking part in it full time was part of it was because I knew this had never been done before. There was no jurisdiction of authority. There was no teeth. There was no nothing at the end that was going to say this person goes to jail, that or the other thing. So for me to be able to connect, commit myself to that, I wasn't able to do that in my position as such a small independent journalist. And that's one of the things that was missing from the magnitude of what you guys did was the lack of actual established media coverage. But you guys still managed through this network, this community of people, people doing a little bit whatever they could wherever they were at with whatever they had. You guys pulled it off in spectacular fashion too, I might add. So I'm going to be fawning all over this to an extent, but I also am not naive to the fact that there was no teeth at the end of this, but the level of discussions, that was where I knew that the value of this would come over time, over a long period of time. These people's testimonies, stories, unless have absolutely nothing to do in your life, you'd have to binge watch for a month to catch up on it all. So people are going to be watching this for a very, very long time, catching up on that. Uh, when did you guys, I guess, know that this was where were you absolutely confirmed and convicted that this was unstoppable?
About 30 seconds ago. um, to some degree, that's true. I mean, I'm joking a bit, but I think, when you're in it, it's like a swirl, right? Because these were incredibly long, stressful days. I literally, I felt like I went in, I stepped inside into a hotel room in early March and stepped out at the end of May. That's really, I remember I got my car and I was driving, and it was the end of May, June 1st, about there. And the last I'd been in my car was, it was snow. There was snow and everything was in full bloom. Like I'd missed the entire season. Um, I think it was Vancouver, which was our sixth city, when people recognized me. And it's such a strange thing, It's like, oh, how do you know me? Oh, right, okay. So people have been watching. That's good. That's good to know. So I think that felt like we've crossed the country, right? We still had to go back to Quebec City and to Ottawa, but we crossed the country. And also it was a turning point where, I'm a pretty optimistic person, and despite everything I'd written about and read and watched, I still kind of hoped, or maybe just the cognitive dissonance was too strong. I just still kind of hoped it was all just incompetence. And it was by then that it was like, this is not incompetence. This is orchestrated. This is planned. This is intentional. I mean, the evidence was just so overwhelming by then. So there was also that turning point. But I have to say that the commissioner's report is only being released next week. In some ways, this is just the beginning.
Right. Now
So
let's move on to that
yeah,
now. We could talk for days. I want to be respectful of your time. You got stuff going on after this as well. So now you've had some time to breathe in between that, and you just mentioned the commissioner's reports coming out next week. There's been some early stuff that came out from the commissioner's report. So for people that aren't aware of that yet, maybe give them a little bit of a rundown on some of the high points of that that you're allowed to share with us.
yeah, absolutely. So I'll go back actually to the end of the hearing. So that was the end of May. On July 1st, we launched a campaign while the commissioners were sifting through this mound of evidence. We launched a campaign called This is Canada. And that campaign is still active. There's still, I just realized my battery's about to die. There we go. We asked people to print out a flyer on our website. And that flyer, we asked them to print out 167 copies of that flyer for Canada's 167th birthday. And then to take that flyer and to put it into mailboxes. And if people felt too uncomfortable to put them in their own neighborhood, go to, to drive to another neighborhood and put them in those mailboxes. And that flyer simply asked people to go to the website and watch any 3 pieces of testimony, whatever called to them. Because our bet is that once you watch 3 pieces, then you're going to, that's not the This is Canada. I'm about to talk about that. So not
where which page should I be on?
So let me see. Go to Take Action. See, the website's being designed too. This is how new everything is. If you go to Take Action, is that the only?
That's what's on the Take Action page.
Let me see.
Get involved.
Is there anything about Is there anything about This is Canada at the bottom of the page, or?
Everybody out there, go spend some time cruising around on the website.
Find it for us.
Find it and share that link. Now you have a bona fide assigned task.
There you go. This is participatory. So the campaign is called This is Canada. And so the bet is that if people watch 3 pieces of testimony, then they're gonna get hooked and they're gonna watch a full day. And we say that you can't watch a full day of testimony without being changed. It just will. It is like, it's better than any reality television you're going to find. It's everything is there. So we did that, and there were people across the country doing this. In fact, there were 6 or 7 towns in Saskatchewan where every single mailbox was hit. So this was a real accomplishment. Then in September, the commissioners released 1 piece of the report, and we called that the interim report. And we released that. We had a live press conference, and we released that the week that the government launched the latest booster, saying it was safe and effective.
Mm-hmm.
So the report that we put out, the interim report, is based on 2 pieces of evidence. And this is not opinion. It's not, analysis. It is the government's own document. So it's irrefutable evidence. And that evidence is the process by which the shots were approved. So people are under the impression that the COVID shots went through the same approval process as any drug would through Health Canada, but it did not. They actually created a process specifically to speed through the approval process, and that was called the interim order. Now, a couple of things about that interim order that are key. One is that there was no requirement that the shots be proven safe or effective. That's not an interpretation. You can go to the government's own website and you can find it. You can also find it on our website. And so what we did, so that's the first thing, is that there was no requirement to prove safety or efficacy. The second thing is the government created for itself a conflict of interest, because what they did is they ordered millions of injections and then they created the process by which to approve them. And then the third part that's really critical with this is that normally through Health Canada, the Minister of Health has the authority, in fact, the requirement, to pull a drug off the market if it is not safe and effective. Well, that authority was taken away from that person. So there is no responsibility. There's no accountability for that. They have no requirement. In fact, I don't even think they can uh, take it off the market themselves. They can't. They don't have that power when it comes to this. So this is really critical. The commissioners had 13 recommendations out of that one piece of the report, and one of them was to immediately pull the injections off the market. So we did a kind of soft launch of the campaign that you just shared, which is neither safe nor effective. So there's going to be more to that after the report comes out next Tuesday. And that's where we are now, is preparing for that.
I heard an expression earlier today, and I think that definitely applies to what's the results or what's happening now because of a large part with the NCI. It's not the only organization that's been fighting back, but in this fashion, it's the only one that we have in Canada that's been taking the testimony and treating it as testimony. I liken this to the toothpaste being squeezed out of the tube, and it is getting squeezed out everywhere, and it's becoming undeniable based on, as you said it, evidence, not emotions,
Mhm.
not opinions,
Mhm.
not theories, but evidence. Over the course of the the hearings, I can only imagine how emotionally taxing. I can only imagine because, like you said, you can't watch one day of hearings without being changed forever. I spent 20 years dealing with trauma. I could not have done what you guys did, absorbing all of that. I am far too susceptible to taking on board all of that. I can't imagine how taxing and draining that would have been on everybody involved in that, because that was a group that toured that did this together. Um, how from the inside, how altering to the soul and the spirit was that collectively? Because I'll tell you, I understand what it's like to be emotionally connected to a small group of people that have done something surreal or supernatural that only they can relate to and understand. I get that, not with this, but I know you do. Share with us a little bit about
Well,
that. Probably didn't see that one coming, did you?
yeah, no, no, because you just completely get the experience. It's very difficult to, you can't really describe to people, right? Because it's just intellectual. Um, so it was a small handful of us who, were there for all of it. The commissioners, Sean, his wife Teresa, the AV crew, really, that's pretty much it. That we were there for all of the hearings. Um, it's I don't know that any of us has fully recovered. Um, this may sound weird, but I don't want to fully recover. I I
Not weird at all.
I I have so much admiration for the courage, the resiliency of Canadians, of the people who testified, particularly the ones who were harmed through all the mandates, right? Through the mask mandates, through lockdowns, closures of their businesses, the separation of families, not being able to be with loved ones when they were dying, relatives who were killed in the hospital, vaccine injured. I mean, all of these things, we heard horrific stories, just inhumane. I mean, we lost our humanity
We did.
collectively. We lost our humanity. And I think that's part of why I decided very early on um, the way I wanted to approach it. So when I did my interviews, um, I hugged all the witnesses at the end. I acknowledged each of them and I hugged them. And so I sometimes say I hugged my way across the country. But for me, it was that emotional connection, making it with them, but also that other people could have that connection with them was really, really important. I think, for some people, they had no clue how bad things were. And I think that was particularly traumatic. But I think the absorbing of all that emotion, I mean, we did a lot of crying and hugging, you know, of witnesses, of each other. I think for me, the pace of it was so grueling, and I feel like I have taken a hit in my health. I was just recovering from chronic fatigue, so I don't have the strongest immune system. But the ability to bear witness is so powerful that many of these people just needed to be heard, and that is a privilege. And so I don't ever want to forget. I don't ever want to not well up when I think about these people. That for me would be like, I'm sorry, that's I don't know how to turn off my texting thingy.
I was afraid it was mine. Don't sweat it.
Wow. So one of the things we've done actually is we've created a podcast where I'm actually following up with all of our vaccine injured witnesses. And that is my favorite role right now, because I get to have a one-on-one conversation with them. It's not testimony, there's not like lights and cameras and, a lawyer and commissioners. It's a one-on-one conversation. And that's been really great, because now they have the opportunity to not only share where they are now, which for most of them is not good. Well, so far for all of them. But they also get to express their thoughts and emotions about it all.
I have a question here on one of the other platforms that I'd like to ask you on their behalf. Carol asks, she'd like to know why there's been no government response, especially from the Conservatives. No one will even acknowledge it. Is that in fact the case, that you've gotten no response from government? And I would like to add on a part B to that. Potentially, do you think that lack of response will change with the publication of the full report?
So it's a great question. I mean, it's the obvious question in a way, right? It's like, where's the government response? So I first want to say that, we weren't out to prove anything. It's like you said, we were out to find the truth, to collect the truth. We invited 63 government officials, I think it was. We even sent summonses to all of them. We gave them the option, any city, online or in person. Not them responded or took us up on it. Very few even responded. There might have been a small handful of people who even, bothered.
So just to clarify, not one elected official in Canada would take the time to attend or take part or even listen to this National Citizens Inquiry. Somebody out there in the Weberverse is going to clip that section.
That is correct. Not only that, but Lynn Vanderplas, I believe is her last name. She's one of our volunteers. She is the person who sent out all of those summonses, and she testified about the experience, about sending them out. So this is all on record too, that the fact that these were sent out on the last day of the inquiry, she testified, and it was very emotional because she was asked what her experience was, having nobody reply, and she was emotional, and she said they don't care.
I'm finding myself hard to contain my anger as it's rising here right now. I shouldn't expect any different, but at this point, I have to extend a question to politicians. Will it take something extreme before you open your ears to even listen to the people? Because it's actions like this, ignoring this kind of community effort, that is going to leave people feeling like they have left nothing left. If politicians do not start to listen to the people that they allegedly represent, they are establishing whatever, uh, they're establishing some very negative future potentials for themselves. And they need to remember that they're only a revolving butt in their seats.
And it's a very dangerous position they are putting democracy in. And
Not just democracy, I had Dr. Trotzy on last week, and all of the efforts that have gone to silence the people and ignore the people is costing lives. For every single minute that people are not able to get the medical attention that they actually deserve, actually should be getting, because of the denial and the cronyism and the corruption and whatever it is that is afflicting all of these people that are supposed to do no harm. This is the longer they drag this out, the more it costs in lives and health, and people are not getting what they need. There's a tangible price and a timeline on this, and this, what you guys are doing, is so important. When I talk to some other people, whether it's from trauma or emergency room physicians, time is running out for these people, because they're not being treated accurately, based on accurate information. I'm getting off on a tangent here, sorry, but yeah,
it's
this.
it's a worthwhile tangent. And I'll just say on a tangent on your tangent that one of the things I've learned is that physicians don't swear the oath to do no harm anymore.
Since 2011.
Is it that long? See, you know something I didn't know. There's so much that gets revealed. And I have to say, like, no matter how much you think you know, there's more to know. Because I had been writing and researching, but I was focused on all the medical and health stuff. And I mean, I got the best civics lessons of my life, during the testimonies. We covered law and policing and economics and education and just so many disability rights. I mean, so many aspects of society were impacted. And every every institution appears to be corrupt
Or captured.
or cabinet, which is corrupt. I
You
mean,
know, I want to hope that there is some reclaimable portion of some of these things. As much as I understand, we need to rebuild a better society to make the better organizations, better institutions, better healthcare, so that we make the old ones obsolete. We still I still hope that there's bits and pieces and people and things amongst these things that we have to kind of temper ourselves sometimes when we're looking at some of these things, and extend that opportunity for people through educational things like what you guys have done here, because it's not political, it is completely non-partisan, also non-partisan in exclusion from acknowledgement. And these are things that Canadians do have the ability to do something about. We're obviously not being listened to at this level, but yet the Trudeau endorses $29,000 of your taxpayers' money for every journalist on the dole in the federal system. Guys, this is stuff that you can fight against. You can defund them at so many different levels that are all part of rebuilding the system outside of that. This is so necessary. We kind of got derailed there from the
No,
political
no,
question.
it actually fits. It ties into what's next because, well, there was a couple things, and I agree with you. I'm not ready to give up on the old system because, it will be chaos if we do that. It may go that way. We may not have a choice, but right now, it is one of the things that appeal to me. Is like we are working within the system, but at the same time, the NCI is not some organization. It is a new muscle in democracy.
Mhm.
It is not,
100%.
right? It is thousands of people. Nobody knows everybody who's volunteering with the NCI. People have taken on their own initiatives. So there's that aspect of it. And that's one of the conversations I'm having with people outside of this country is, how do there are people who want to create this kind of thing in their own country, right? Because they see what we're doing. The other thing is sorry, go ahead.
Oh, well, with the adversity is the opportunity. I'm living that in my own space in the new environment that's replacing the old one called media,
Mhm.
and that's giving us opportunity to build and do things that the world's never seen before because there was not need to before. We were all complacent in turning on our tube at 6 o'clock for the news. Well, now no, folks are tuning in on their internet to What's Up Canada at 6 o'clock instead. And real soon, this is just a teaser beaser for everybody else out there. We're going to start being able to deliver information in ways never seen on Earth before. Can you imagine downloading a PDF from your screen live, real time, when we're doing a show like this? We will be able to deliver information like that. We will be able to deliver transcripts of shows real time. This is just some of the stuff that is on the cutting edge of developing a new and alternative ecosystem, which is new muscle in that fight for democracy. It's so inspiring and so correct. And this is the kind of stuff we need to focus on. And this is why it's so important not to get sucked into the swamp of forever despair and want to throw yourself off of a bridge by listening to these people and these testimonies, but to understand the humanity and the power that comes from that, the strength that comes from taking part in some of these kinds of things, in exposing yourself to a whole new level of understanding. uh Gets me going.
I hear you. So, there's two things. One, I want to talk about the release of the commissioner's report because there is an action to take. So there is something that everybody can do to really give this report some teeth. So, but the other thing I'll say first, which is that I'm totally with you because one of the things I always say is that, we have intuition, we have hope, we have love, the resilient kind of tough love that Martin Luther King Jr. talked about, right? We have that. AI can't predict that. They can't best that. It is the most powerful force in the universe. So I am a strong
AI
believer.
is never going to ask itself, am I responsible for destroying the world, and how do I stop myself?
So next week on Tuesday, November 28th at I think so. This is the part that's brand new. Like I literally just found out today the timing of all this and how it's going to work. So at 11 a.m. Eastern, we're going to have an English online reconvening of the hearings. So essentially, it's going to be another hearing, but it will be Sean Buckley as the lead counsel who will be creating opening remarks. Then Ken Drysdale, who is the head of the commissioners, will have his remarks, and then each of the commissioners will speak about the report. And then there will be closing remarks from our administrator, the Honorable Chess Crosby. And then there will be an open section for the media to ask questions. At 2 p.m. Eastern, there will be a French version happening. So the same thing will happen in French. So at that time, the commissioner's report will be released. And this is where you get to participate. And this is the only way this thing is going to have teeth, is if people participate. So now you can put up that way. that link.
So is this the secret one that you gave me in the back chat
Yes.
that I can put up? All
That one.
right.
So the take action
That
one.
one.
Yeah. So what
Okay.
this link will take you to our first leg of the campaign. And this is an email campaign. But this link, all you have to do is fill in your name, address, postal code. It's always good to adjust the letter because, as you know, if a letter gets, if an MP gets 1,000 letters, it can go to spam, right? If it's all the same letter, it doesn't
Yeah.
have as much power. But if you even just change a line in the letter, that makes a difference. That letter will automatically go to your MP, your MLA. It'll go to the Minister of Health, Mark Holland. There's a couple other people. Hang on one second. Oh, it'll go to there's an MP, Stephen Ellis, who's on the Standing Committee on Health, and Marilyn Gladu, who's an MP in Ontario, who's on the Standing Committee on Canadian Heritage, who is friendly. She's a friendly. So all of these people will receive your email. This is the first step. We need to get this report out. This report is over 600 pages. It has over 100 recommendations. This is a very thorough professional report. They cover everything. So that is the action that you can take. We'll have other campaigns following that. We're going to have a postcard campaign, which is a really effective way, because when you have like hard material in a politician's office, that makes a difference. They notice that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It makes a monumental difference if they've got 5 mailbags to drag in, or if they've got 150,000 emails. They don't care about 150,000 emails. But if they got 5 mailbags in their office, they are going, what? That causes extreme emotional upset in any political office. So bear that in mind. And like and that's great advice, Michelle. You make that letter your own, own it, use it. It's got credibility behind it. It doesn't have to be limited. Every person of responsibility needs to know what you're, and I mean, this is the foundation of negotiation. That is democracy. Enough people demanding a specific unified message. That is how we literally make change. And I want people to be inspired, and don't think that this is permanent situation. Argentina just won. The Netherlands just won their freedom back. We are no different. They've just worked harder, and they're a little bit smaller. We've just got more to do, and this is somehow how you do it.
And I want to add one thing, and I want to comment on someone's comment. So the other piece is, so when you do this email, you will get an email back with a copy of your letter. So we're then asking people to copy and paste that, print the hard copy, send it to your MP. Okay, that's where we get the physical part in. So first, the letter. This is just the first leg of the campaign, is to print that letter. And as you know, you can send it to your send it to your representatives for free, right? Just stick that in the mail with their address. So you copy and paste, print, and send. So that's really key. And so I just have to say, they'll just shred everything comment. It's not true, actually. The biggest campaign that has ever happened in Canadian history had to do with natural health products. And when the MPs' offices were inundated with those postcards, they absolutely stepped back. Like, it makes a difference when it's physical. In fact, it just happened this past summer because they're attacking natural health products again, and they're really going for it this time. And the MPs were holding up stacks of postcards, in the House of Commons. So the other side of it is, it's too easy to be cynical.
It is.
it's the easy road. So what do we do? Just go, oh well, totalitarianism, here it comes. Okay,
Yeah.
it's not an option.
They're not gonna let you go and get tailor fitted your slave suit, folks. It's not gonna work that way.
No, it is not.
And the responsibility ultimately depends on us. And politicians are creatures of the court of public opinion, 100%.
Yeah.
And when they feel and make no mistake, the current regime is feeling the heat, not just from Canadians, but from the entire freaking planet. It's not if, it's when does he collapse. And at that point, our our due diligence, if we want to prevent it, I believe, is in not sitting down and taking a rest, but continuing down these directions, and in the methodology of demanding answers and accountability that has to carry on. And this is an opportunity again for us to teach people how to make democracy work, on their behalf, on all of that. uh, Wow, this has been absolutely amazing, Michelle. We could go on for a couple of hours. We're kind of running down on the bottom of the hour here, and I had promised to give you some time to let people know. First of all, we've talked an awful lot about the NCI, and one last time for anybody that hasn't got it, get over there. That's where they're going to be able to get plugged into everything that we've talked about here so far.
Mhm. Yes, and the
Everything,
website is
everything.
in the process of being redesigned. There is going to be, and we're close now, a page, a full page for every single one of the 305 witnesses with their testimony, high definition, with transcripts, with French translations, and a bio on each of them. You'll be able to search by subject and by name. So there's lots coming.
Fantastic stuff. Bookmark that, guys. Stay connected. There's going to be a lot that's going to come, I think, once this full report gets released. And in the meantime, folks can keep in touch with you and follow more of what you're doing right there,
Yeah.
right? Tell
Yes.
us a little bit
So,
more about that. Whoop. Oh,
right.
I got to edit that. Oops.
So, and I do want to acknowledge someone's just commented there's an NCI live roundtable, and I think it's the one with Catherine Austin Fitz in 2 minutes. So before you head there, so that's my website. I write a blog, but I am soon to launch a podcast. And this podcast came very much out of the subject, out of the conversation we're having now, which is what is it what is it that has some people stand up and other people just sit back or feel resigned or think someone else is going to handle it? There are people that we admire who are out there standing up, but they're no different than anybody else. They just, something said, no, I have to speak out. And so I got very interested in what trues people up to their values so that they're not just talking, but they're walking the talk. So the show is called Trued Up. And I am already having amazing conversations. Dr. Mark Trozzi, he's one of my guests. Dr. Chris Shaw, Vera Sharav, the Holocaust survivor who made Never Again is Now Global. I mean, Amanda Forbes from Children's Health Defense Canada, and Todd Michael Harris, who just made The Big Picture. Like, amazing guests,
We
really.
had them last week. It was awesome chatting with them. And before I let you go, I'm going to do you a favor after the show here and connect you with one of the people that I am most blessed to know. I think she is probably the preeminent trauma expert in North America. And one of the things we discuss often is the tsunami of trauma. The entire country is functioning from a measurable level of trauma, no matter where you are in the social spectrum at this point in time. But the thing that we can identify so far is that the people like us that are unstoppable are those people that have escaped trauma. Once you have come out of trauma, once you come through on the other side, people invariably have a sense of cause and purpose that is unstoppable, unfathomable. So I think that's something that we could have some
That's
future
really
discussions on.
interesting. And this comment here about suppressed anger, I so get it. And I just want to say this. Years ago, I interviewed a very well-known columnist, a public figure, and she was always so joyful. Like in person, she was so joyful. And I asked her once what motivated her to keep going. And she smiled and she said, rage.
I can fess up to a specific moment in time when I had Dr. Peter McCullough on my show where I publicly made an oath to not rest because I was so angry until we started to see some justice. I am no judge or jury, but I will build the sidewalk, the road, the path, whatever it takes until we get some justice. And I will not. There is no amnesty to me. So, the battle continues. We're getting bigger, better, stronger, and I look forward very much to everything that you guys are doing, the full report, and I'm hoping that we get to connect with some more of your other folks over the next period of time to bring more of this out to the world to talk about.
I would love that. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you to your very active audience. I'm sorry, I'm not great at following comments while I'm trying to keep the conversation.
Well, we're streaming out across, I think, about 8 different places tonight for the first time in 3.5 years. We're actually streaming on to YouTube as well.
Wow.
They've kind of changed their tunes somewhat and different over the last little while. So don't ever get discouraged, guys. We didn't get here in a minute. We're not getting out of it in a minute either. And tally ho.
Yep.
Thanks so much, Michelle. And I
Thank
look
you.
forward to chatting again real soon. So, folks, guys, follow her over on gatheryourwits.com and we'll
Yeah,
chat
you
again.
subscribe for free.
Awesome.
It's all good.
Awesome. So when you've got some more breaking news, you guys got it here tonight. Exclusive breaking news. The rest of the world will find out tomorrow. For you Trish Woods followers, say hi. And yeah, you guys got a little bit of an insider scoop tonight.
You
So
did.
I love you all. Thanks again, Michelle, so much.
Thank you so much.
All right, guys. Wow. That was so much fun. We could have talked for a really long time on so many different things. Like, I mean, uh, yeah, hundreds of hours of testimony. I really wanted to give you guys a personal connection to some of this and, to feel, to at least be encouraged to go and with a heart open to feeling some of this because that's what makes change. So I love you guys. Bunches and bunches. I've got a clip to play you guys out on, and stay tuned. We've got so much stuff coming up next week. I don't even know where to start, but we'll see you there.